Deep in northeastern Louisiana, there's a place that, according to the old history books, just shouldn't exist. It's a massive, ancient complex of earthworks, over 3,000 years old, and it completely rewrites the story of what early human societies were capable of. Today, we're diving into the mystery of Poverty Point.
So take a look at this. This is an artist's vision of Poverty Point, a sprawling complex built sometime between 1700 and 1100 BCE. We're talking about a series of enormous mounds and 6 C-shaped ridges made of earth that stretched for 3 miles. The scale here is just staggering. It's an engineering marvel that was built more than 1,000 years before the Roman Colosseum.
So you gotta ask, right? Who could have possibly built this? When we think of monuments this big, our minds usually go to vast agricultural empires. Societies with big farms, tons of surplus food, and enough people to create a specialized workforce. Think ancient Egypt and the pyramids, or the people who built Stonehenge. But the builders of Poverty Point, well, they were something else entirely.
That's right. The people who built this American megastructure were not farmers. They were a complex, sophisticated society of hunters, fishers, and gatherers. And that one single fact creates this profound mystery that has kept archaeologists scratching their heads for decades.
This is exactly why Poverty Point is often called the Great Exception. It just stands apart from almost every other major ancient monument on the planet, and it forces us to completely rethink the standard story of human civilization.
This quote really puts the whole puzzle into perspective. For the longest time, the rulebook said to build big things, you need big farms, period. But Poverty Point comes along and just tears that page right out. It's the massive exception to that rule.
So to really appreciate just how incredible this achievement was, let's take a closer look at the blueprint. What exactly did these hunter-gatherers manage to create out here in the Louisiana bayous?
This slide just illustrates the scale perfectly. These C-shaped ridges are so enormous, the outer one is almost a mile across, that for centuries, people walking right on top of them had no idea they were part of a massive geometric design. The true shape was literally hiding in plain sight until we got airplanes and could see it from above.
The key thing to understand here is the complexity. This wasn't just a random pile of dirt. No way. The builders planned everything. You've got 6 perfectly concentric ridges, a massive central plaza big enough to hold dozens of football fields, and inside that plaza, they even built huge circles of wooden posts. This was a highly organized, totally engineered landscape.
Now, the crown jewel of the entire site is Mound A. It stands over 70 feet tall, and from above, it's shaped kind of like a T. Some archaeologists think it was built to look like a bird in flight. Others see it as more of a symbolic Earth island, representing the very center of their world.
Okay, but here's the part that is just mind-blowing. By studying the layers of soil, researchers realized there are no signs of erosion or breaks in construction. And that leads to one astonishing conclusion. This entire 8.4 million cubic foot mound was likely built in one single massive push in less than 3 months. It's almost impossible to wrap your head around the level of social organization that would take.
And they did all of this by hand. The process was brutally simple, but had to be organized with incredible precision. You'd have thousands of people, men, women, children, probably everyone, digging up this silty dirt, carrying it in woven baskets that held up to 50 pounds, and dumping it to build the structures, one basket load at a time. So we have an idea of how they built it, but how did they live? How could a society without farming possibly sustain the population needed for a project on this scale?
While the answer was the incredible natural bounty of the Mississippi River floodplain. It was basically an ancient supermarket. They had this rich, varied diet of deer, fish, nuts, fruits, you name it. They didn't need to farm because the world around them provided everything they could possibly want.
Now, archaeologists have found millions of artifacts here, but the most common by far are these strange little baked earth objects. They're called Poverty Point objects, or PPOs, and they come in all these different shapes. For a long, long time, nobody knew what they were for.
It turns out they were a brilliant piece of technology. Think of them like ancient, reusable charcoal briquettes. You'd heat these clay balls in a fire, then place them in a pit oven with your food. They would just radiate a nice, even heat, cooking everything perfectly. It was a genius solution.
And maybe most impressive of all was their reach. You see, there is no local stone at Poverty Point. Zero.
Yet they had tools and ornaments made from materials that came from hundreds, even thousands of miles away, from the mountains of Arkansas and Georgia, all the way up to Missouri and Iowa. This wasn't some isolated village. It was the bustling hub of an ancient trade superhighway.
But despite everything we've learned, the biggest question of all still remains. Why? Why build all this? And this question leads us right to the great debate that still divides archaeologists to this day.
Was this a buzzing, year-round city, maybe the first of its kind in North America? Or was it more like a massive ceremonial center, a place where different groups would travel to gather every so often for trade, for rituals, and to work on these huge construction projects?
Honestly, the evidence seems to point in both directions. On one hand, archaeologists have found post holes from buildings, cooking hearths, and just a massive amount of garbage, which suggests people were living there for long stretches. Plus, it seems kind of nuts to build something this huge for only occasional use. But on the other side, some researchers argue there isn't enough evidence of dense housing for a large, permanent city. They think it acted more like a massive fairground, a pilgrimage site for trade and ceremony. The jury is very much still out.
Sometime around 1100 BCE, the site was abandoned. It faded back into the landscape, and for centuries it was just a series of strange hills on a cotton plantation. Its real story, its incredible significance, was completely forgotten.
The path to recognition was a long one. The first published account didn't happen until 1873, and major scientific excavations didn't even start until the 1950s. But slowly, its importance was revealed, culminating in 2014 when it was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site, putting it right alongside the pyramids and Stonehenge.
It really stands as this powerful testament to the ingenuity, the organization, and the pure ambition of an ancient American people who did what everyone thought was completely impossible to do without agriculture.
When you think about it, a monument of this size was overlooked for generations, hiding right there in plain sight. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other stories, what other incredible achievements from our deep past are still lying just beneath the surface, waiting to be rediscovered?